This video is an analysis of the game Outer Wilds, one of the best indie games to be released in recent years. If you haven't played it yet, I strongly suggest you stop this video and don't come back until you have, since it's a game that absolutely benefits from going in blind. Oi, some of you still here. I'm serious, go play the game. Okay? Okay. From here on out, I'm gonna assume that everyone watching has played Outer Wilds, so let's get this started. Outer Wilds is a game that I have a complicated relationship with. I first learned of the game through some Let's Players that I follow, and after seeing a little I came to the conclusion that it wasn't the game for me. There are two main reasons for this. One, the time loop mechanic reminded me of Majora's Mask, and that game frustrated me to the point of never finishing it. Yeah, heresy, I know. The second reason was a bit more embarrassing. I have a mild case of megalophobia. Basically, really large things, specifically really large things that move, freak me out. I don't freeze up or anything, but I get like that dropping feeling in the pit of my stomach. I just get generally uncomfortable. In this game, well, needless to say, there's a lot here that sets it off. So I decided it was probably a fine game, just wasn't for me. Fast forward a couple years, and lo and behold I get a gift on Steam from my brother. Guess what it was? The message was simply, you have to play this. So I did. I played it, and I finished it. I'm not going to say it was easy. This game terrified me more than any horror game ever could. Amnesia: The Dark Descent? A little creepy. Layers of Fear? A couple spooky moments. Amnesia Rebirth? Go away. You're terrible. But this game? I was tense almost all the time. Strange, isn't it? Even if you die, you just start over. You don't really lose anything. A lot of things aren't even deadly. That black hole in Brittle Hollow? It's a minor inconvenience. I knew this. I was still clutching my controller like it was the only thing keeping me from actually flying into the sun. But I got through it. For a couple moments, especially after failing a complex sequence of events and having to start over, but I just said, screw it, I don't have to put myself through this. But it turns out, I did. No matter how frustrated I got, no matter how uncomfortable I got, I kept coming back. I had to unravel the mysteries, find the eye, and see it through to the bittersweet end. There's just something about this game that does that. It makes you keep thinking about it. Even now, months after finishing it, I feel compelled to make my first ever video essay, to try and figure out why this game has this ethereal power. What is it that it does so right?
The joke we always make about Outer Wilds is it's the game you're not supposed to make. Because like, the way you do nice lighting in games is by static objects that don't move. Everything in Outer Wilds is always moving. The way you make games is on a grid in Maya. Everything in Outer Wilds is on a sphere. Any thing you expect out of game development, we just kind of had to throw away and figure it out.
The gameplay of Outer Wilds is nothing revolutionary, but it is serviceable and mostly consistent. Ship navigation is probably what takes the most time to get used to, since you need to remember Newton's first law. There's nothing to slow you down in space, so unless you do it yourself, you're gonna have a bumpy landing. No. With a little bit of practice though, you'll be making perfect touchdowns every time. At least until you learn to stop worrying and love the crash. Besides your ship, you also have your exosuit navigation. In Zero-G, it controls pretty much the same, and the match velocity function is absolutely your friend. On land, however, it can be a bit fluky. The jetpack booster in particular can be a little unreliable, and despite the prompt that appears on screen, it takes a while before you really learn how to use it. That's something that could have been implemented a bit better. The suit has two resources, oxygen and fuel, and when fuel runs out you can use oxygen instead, because that's a good idea. Luckily, oxygen can be replenished by simply approaching some trees. Yes, it makes sense, shut up. It's an interesting mechanic because it's something that's easy to look out for when exploring, and doesn't require you to keep returning to your ship. Then there's the tools at your disposal, the signal scope, the scout, and the translator. The translator pops up when needed, so that's pretty straightforward. There are tutorials for the scout and scope, though these are easily missed, so you might have some trouble early on. Still, the controls are on your suit HUD and pop up contextually where they might be useful. Your friends mention them too, so eventually you learn how and when to use them effectively, though I'm pretty sure that everyone makes this part more complicated than it needs to be. To the game's credit, there are often multiple ways to accomplish a given task. Take the Black Hole Forge for example. The normal way to get there is first travel to the Hanging City, activate the controls, then make your way to the Ash Twin, find the teleporter, and warp back to Brittle Hollow. And then not stupidly jump off like I did. Or you could just do this.
Whatever. Shibus being a weirdo, but that's okay.
There are several shortcuts like this if you're skilled and knowledgeable enough, which helps to add to the sense of exploration. The most innovative thing is, ironically, that you never get anything new. You might go in thinking you'll find some way to clear the ghost matter, or cut down cacti, or nuke these but the only upgrade you ever get is new knowledge. Knowledge that is conveniently uploaded to your ship computer. You can view it by planet or group categorically, mark entries for easy navigation, and see if you missed something somewhere. I can't understate how helpful the log is. There is a lot to keep track of in this solar system. The world building in Outer Wilds begins from the moment you wake up. 4 eyes blink sleepily, staring up at a large green planet, where a mysterious explosion sent a point of light flying away into space. Sometimes you even get a sneaky moon. You sit at a cozy campfire, roasting marshmallows with your alien buddy, and as time passes, more planets pass by in the sky. It's immediately obvious that this world is nothing like the one we know. What the hell is that? As you go through the tutorial and talk to the denizens of this little village, you get to know the curious and friendly and accident-prone Hearthians. Eventually, after some wandering around and doing some tutorials, you get to the observatory, which has a little museum showcasing pretty much every phenomenon you'll encounter in the game. Ew. Freaky. Huh, well, I'm sure this isn't foreshadowing anything. It's a brilliant microcosm of the game that gives you a little taste of what is actually out there, but with less horrible death. Anyway, you get the launch codes, trip some balls, go up to your ship and blast off into space. And now the entire solar system is yours to explore. There's no set goal, no quest or waypoint to follow, but the game does give you some subtle guidance of what you should start with. Cornfells might give you some tips. The obvious starting points are the rest of Timber Hearth, the Addle Rock, and Giant Steep, since it's the first thing you see when you wake up. But really, you can go anywhere. Maybe not here, but if nothing else, it's a strong first impression. There's something to learn just about everywhere, even if some things are more useful than others. Every location is unique and recognizable at a glance. Each planet looks interesting, something you want to explore. Not only that, but everything is constantly moving and changing. The game keeps track of all the celestial bodies in real time, even if you can't see them. It's not quite perfect under some extreme circumstances.
Oh, it just goes through Giant Steep, no problem.
But usually everything is where it should be, and when it should be. The more you explore, the more you come back to these places, the more you learn how to utilize these changes. You're essentially learning how to navigate the system in 4 dimensions. Or perhaps more. One of the most interesting elements in this world is the quantum objects. Quantum physics posits that subatomic particles exist in a superposition of several possibilities until they are actively observed. And here that principle is scaled up to a macro level. So boulders, trees, and even a whole moon appear and disappear randomly. The quantum mechanics certainly allows for some interesting puzzles, as well as a novel experience of being jump-scared by a rock. It's not just a gimmick though. The quantum phenomena all stem from the eye of the universe, which means that it too requires a conscious observer to enter it in order for it to fulfill its ultimate purpose. Your journey toward that purpose is mostly a solitary one, but you're not entirely alone on your journey. A handful of other explorers are already out here, each as unique as the planet they're camping on. Esker is aged and experienced, but a little lonely. Church is a true scientist that has a nervous breakdown when they realize what's happening with the sun. Rebek is an anxious archaeologist whose passion of studying the Nomai made them overcome their fear of space travel. Gabbro is, well, Gabbro. And Feldspar fearlessly goes forth towards adventure, with the philosophy that crashes are fine as long as it's not boring. They may not offer much useful information, but they do give a little respite, a chance to sit down and roast a marshmallow or two as the universe crumbles around you. The true heart of Out the Wilds is the lore, the trials and tribulations of the hapless Nomai that followed a mysterious signal to the system, only to be ensnared by the dark bramble. Ever driven by the desire for knowledge, the normally nomadic people set down roots in the system and spent generations pursuing the same goal, the eye of the universe. Their existence was tragically cut short by the arrival of the Interloper and its ghost matter payload, but they did ultimately succeed. just not the way they thought they would. By following the path they laid out, our fledgling astronaut Avatar manages to make their way to the Eye itself, fulfilling the Nomai's work after more than 280,000 years. Very little of the lore you find is actually needed to achieve this goal. There are really only 3 pieces you need: the core, the vessel, and the coordinates. Some entries you find lead you toward these goals, but the majority of what you read is, put harshly, fluff. I didn't need to know about the experiments with warp cores, the disaster at the Interloper, or even the last sort of survivor of the Nomai, but I sought them out anyway because I cared. The Nomai entries weren't just info dumps, they were conversations between people. They made jokes, talked about romantic relations, and grieved for lost loved ones. You got to know them by name, like Mallow and Avens, whose enthusiasm for finding the Eye is the reason that the probe cannon always blows up on launch, or Spire, that built an advanced functioning model of giant steep cyclones because it was fun. Then there's Solanum, of course. We find her writing from an early age, when she hated and feared the Eye because she thought it had lured them here on purpose. As she grew older, she came to accept that the Eye was probably neither good nor evil, it just was. Eventually she made her own journey to the Eye via the Quantum Moon, which is where we get to meet her. Meeting Solanum was for me one of the more powerful moments of the game. Getting to the moon's 6th location requires knowledge from all 3 towers, and when you finally get there, you don't know what you'll find. Maybe it's the path to the Eye, or vital information on how to save the universe. But all you find is a lone Nomai, trapped in an eternal state of mostly dead. We don't really learn anything we need to know, but we do make a friend, and I think that's pretty neat. The Sun Station is another example of a pivotal moment, even though it's not vital to the end goal. At the start of the game, you might think that the supernova was something that could be prevented. With only partial information of the Sun Station and its purpose, one could be led to believe that by making it there, you could do something to stop it. Instead, all you find is notes from the Nomai that are devastated by the fact that their entire life's work, everything they worked for, is a failure. The Sun Station didn't function, and never would. The reason the sun is exploding is because it's reached its natural end. At this point, the game goes from fighting the end to accepting it. And in your final act of defiance, you take out the warp core from the Ash Twin project, ending the loop, and make your way to the final destination, the Eye of the Universe. This feels like a good time to mention the music of Outer Wilds. The soundtrack, composed by Andrew Prallo, is so memorable and utilized incredibly well. Usually while exploring there's no music at all, only the sound of your suit's ventilation. That makes you notice the music all the more once it starts up. The soundtrack starts out on a positive note, with the cheerful tones of Timberhearth Sunrise and the whimsical notes of space exploration. But soon you encounter the sorrowful piano of the Nomai and the muted, ominous sounds of Dark Bramble. The mood of the music follows the player's journey, from the initial joy of exploration to the dire situation you realize you're in. It also has significance for the characters, as each astronaut you meet has their own instrument, all playing their part in the same jaunty tune. It's what leads you to find them, even in the darkest reaches of space. And then there's this song. The song that can give players of this game anxiety, even when they're not playing. Becoming supernova doesn't really care if you need more time. The melancholic melody mercilessly meanders on, eventually ending in inevitable immolation. The song is simultaneously sad and hopeful, inviting you to simply accept your fate and try again. It also makes the final journey that much more impactful. Once you grab the core out of the Ash Twin project and return to your ship, you hear those tones again. But that can't be right. There should be lots of time left. Then you notice that this version is different. It's there to remind you that this is it. There's no going back and you can't screw this up. Realizing the implications of holding the core in your hand, you lift off and head to Dark Bramble. The music muffles as you enter, as if hushed in anticipation. You still have to get by them. So you somehow make it to the vessel. You put in the core, enter the coordinates, not really sure how much time you have left, and engage the warp. The music ends, gone, with the rest of the galaxy. Now it's time for you to find your own way and make your own music. For all its story and atmosphere, it's the little details that tell you how meticulously crafted this game is. On the ship alone, there's a lot of things that you might not notice at first, like the helpful posters, emergency marshmallows, the plant and gravity crystal, And this little button. What does this do, anyway? The attention to detail is what really puts this game over the top. I enjoyed noting how Nomai children's writing is a lot rougher than adults, and was sad when I realized that the corpus on the Quantum Moon's south pole is Solanum, dead in 5 of 6 possible realities. Inside a frozen jellyfish is a note that Feldspar left to himself to remind him not to eat it. Like, seriously, Feldspar? You might see the inside of the Ash Twin core in projection stones early on, wondering what the heck you're looking at. It looks like it's filled with spinning stars, but it's actually the ore from Timber Hearth that they used to construct the shell. Speaking of stars, the longer you get into the loop, the more stars disappear from the sky, each one going supernova somewhere far away. The sound design also deserves a mention. You can tell they put a lot of work into making them just right. Many of the sounds in this game manage to produce an almost visceral reaction. The roar of the anglerfish terrifies you every time. The deep bass of passing through the black hole makes you feel the pressure of the gravity well. The winds of Giant Steep make you want to seek shelter when you hear them approaching. And then there's this highly unpleasant sound. Uh-oh. The ending, though, is where the game crafting really shines. You start out in a museum. The exhibits are changed to reflect what you've learned on your journey. You're then transported to the ancient glade, where you need to find your friends, represented by their appropriately placed instruments. Rebek's banjo is in a crumbling shelter. Church drums are found by gazing at the stars. Felspar's harmonica is found by braving danger head-on. And Gabbro's flute is aloof, apart from everything else. Solanum, if you met her, is represented by Nomai standing on the shoulders of those that came before to reach the stars. Of course, all this is just from the hatchling's memories, which is why his skeleton is all we see. Once all the travelers are together, they play their song one final time, and then it's time to say goodbye to everything. The probabilities collapse, birthing a new universe, accompanied by the fanfare that never fails to give me chills.
People like the game for the reasons why we made it, and like they got the story we were trying to tell. And I'm really proud that we told a story that could only, in a way that could only be told through video games. And because we tried really hard. We wanted to make something that couldn't have been made any other way. Yeah, that there's sort of this just connection with everyone who plays the game, and like we added something meaningful to the lives of the people who played it is just like really humbling, but like an incredible feeling.
Outer Wilds started off as Alex Beach's master's thesis project, but has grown into so much more. It's a unique experience, the likes of which can't really be found in any other game. It's a game that sticks with you long after it's done. A vague melancholy of an experience that can never truly be had again. My greatest regret with this game is that I didn't go into it blind, that I'd already seen a fair amount of it before I played it. But that's alright. The fact that I'm still talking about it, that I'm still trying to convince others to play it to somehow vicariously relive that initial wonder, speaks volumes. And hey, now we're getting a DLC, so it looks like I get a new chance. Is it a perfect game? Of course not. Is it for everyone? Hell no. I can see plenty of people being put off by its aimless nature and lack of tangible progress. But I think few will deny that what it does pretty damn well. It's more than the sum of its parts, and the dedication and creativity of those involved created something absolutely unforgettable. So there you have it, my first ever video essay. That DLC I mentioned is already released now, and it's fine? Maybe I'll make a video on that too, we'll see. Anyway, I hope I didn't ramble on too much. I just wanted to put my feelings about this game into words. I'm no game developer, but I have been gaming since 1985, so maybe my opinions on the subject count for something at least. We'll see if I decide to make more of these, but until that time, hold on to that love of gaming.